What are the best opportunities right now? What are the areas that game companies are saying we really need people for these things? And if you come along, it's going to be easier and less competitive if you go for those particular roles. For example, as a contrast, there's lots and lots of people who just want to be a general 3D artist. But if you can narrow it down into one of the hot areas for 3D art, something that's really in need, then it's going to be easier for you to get into the industry or to get promoted or to change company or whatever it is that you're up to. So I'm going to go through the opportunities. The first one is everything to do with virtual reality is very hot right now. It's the thing. There's a lot of money going into it. There's a lot of development happening in that area. There's a lot of support happening in that area. I've got a buddy of mine who's part of a company called Archiact, and what they're doing is desperately trying to find games and developers and apps and things to put within their system so they can be pushing it out. So that as all these units are coming out, all these different headsets that companies are making, there's plenty of content ready for people. Because, if you buy a new thing, you buy a new console and there's no games on it, you're like, it's no good. So there's a desperate need for a lot there. And that's design, it's programming, it's art, it's just the whole gambit. There's a lot of need for that right at the moment. So it's a good area to focus on and specialize in. Similarly, and I guess the predecessor to virtual reality is free-to-play mobile. It's still very hot. It's still tons of money going into it. It's very competitive. It's very, very tough if you're an independent developer to get yourself in there. But there's companies making millions of dollars a day, and there's other companies that want to make millions of dollars a day. So people who are savvy in terms of how to design free-to-play games, how to create good art for free-to-play games, how to hook up the programming, how to oversee a team, how to make sure it all gets created, everything to do with free-to-play and mobile is super, super hot still at the moment. It may not be as time goes on, but right now it's a great area. And there's a lot better opportunity if you say, I'm a specialist user interface artist for mobile games, than there is saying I'm a specialist user interface artist for AAA games. It's a lot easier for you to find opportunities in mobile free-to-play than in AAA in a lot of circumstances. Similarly, operations engineering. So this is the engineers who are responsible for how a game rolls out and how it scales and how the servers are handled and how you handle deployment and how you do live quality assurance testing, all those kind of things. There's a big need for that. And often people are looking for just the glamorous parts of making games. I want to be a gameplay programmer, the person who makes the character jump. And that might be a competitive area. And if you're new to the industry or new to getting a job, getting your foot in the door, sometimes going for an ops team role can be an easier way for you to show, look at the value I have. I might not have made games, but yeah, I understand how servers and scaling infrastructure works. And big opportunity, I think, still as an analyst and likewise a monetization designer. They're two very, very separate, very different roles, but I bunch them into the same category here because they're the sort of people who understand free-to-play games very well from a design perspective. Not just, let's make something fun, but from the perspective of how do we show progression to the player? Where do we put a payment wall? When do we ask them for money? How much do we charge for it? Let's do A/B testing. If we have this product at a sword for $1 or a shield for $2, what's going to bring us more money? How many people can we put through that pipeline? Where are we losing people? Where are they dropping off? Cost of acquisition, all of these things. If that's something that you know a little bit about, then you can go and invest some time, read articles, talk to people, play a lot of free-to-play games, do some teardowns, i.e. play through games and write out this happens, then that happens, then it happens, kind of analyze it and dissect it. And if you can do that, and if you can turn up to a job opportunity where they're looking for an analyst or a monetization designer or a system designer, then you've got a lot less competition. There's a lot less people out there who are good at that. So it's something that interests you. It's a big opportunity at the moment. I think there's still a lot of opportunity as well for technical artists. A tech artist essentially bridges the gap between the technical side and the artistic side. For example, if you have a whole bunch of characters and you need to change their textures, you need to down-res their textures, for example, from super big, high resolution, we're taking it from that, we're putting it on mobile, and we need to down-res it all, then you don't want to have an artist go in and manually change the resolution of every texture on the models. So you have a tech artist who, builds a tool or builds a system or builds a process that can automatically down-res. Or it could be working with shaders or working with painting a character, working on making new models or putting it into the game or exporting it. Then you have someone there who understands the technical side, scripting, and the scripting specific to the software or the tool that's being used. For example, 3D Studio Max or Maya, and they can make that whole process go well. So if you're interested in art and you're also interested in tech, I think there's a lot of opportunity still for tech artists. And of course, game companies are always looking for people who have expertise in the particular engine that they're using. And the two big guys at the moment are Unity and Unreal. So if you come along and you say, I've been working within Unity for 2 years as a programmer, an artist, or a designer, or whatever it might be, and I know how it works, I know the interface, I know the system, I know the tools, I know the tips and tricks, and I have day one value in that engine. You can sit me in front of it and I'll know what to do. Then that gives you a big advantage over someone who says, I'm pretty sure I could learn it. That's not day one value, that's day 20 value after that person's got up to speed with that particular engine. So, you may have already dabbled in these. If not, it's good they're both free. You can just jump in, start playing around with it, start using it. And at the very least, if a company is looking for someone who has some Unreal knowledge, it's very important that you've spent at least a handful of hours playing around with it, so that then you can say at the very least, I know it a little bit, I'm learning it, I'm getting better at it. And if you get an interview, then you can study your butt off and just spend 3 or 4 or 5 days just focused in it and getting as knowledgeable as you can about it. So that's a quick wrap up of hot opportunities at the moment. That's the list of them just there. And a tip I have for you is to always be constantly reading about what's going on in the industry. For example, Gamasutra.com is a great place to look to see what studios are doing particular things and what trends are emerging and who's bought whom and who's invested in who and what mergers and who's been laid off and who's hiring. So when you see that, you can see things like, wow, there's a lot of discussion about games, virtual reality games, where they take some sort of hardware and they're trying to really do a big hardware push. How could I use that as a artist, programmer, designer, producer, quality assurance person, whatever you might be? How can I take that knowledge and then go search for opportunities in that area, or research things in that area, get good at it, so that then you can go out and use that current knowledge to find new opportunities for yourself?